Cricket.
You know, that's my mother and grandmother, of course, were big cookie bakers,
Yeah.
cooks, wonderful cooks. And English and Swedish, which aren't known for cooking, but they were both fabulous cooks.
Right.
And as you can see, you know, the result of that. But uh, and I always liked it, even as a little kid. You know, it was kind of, it was something to do with my mother. But also, I was a 4-H'er, and you know, those are cooking and sewing are kind of the first.
And you learned, goes back to being in 4-H. That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, 4-H is a really good
Well, that-
practical teaching for
Well, that
kids.
practical teaching thing that 4-H delivered to you as a young lady, I'll tell you what, really paid off for you because it really rounded and took the edge off. We were breaking bread together, all of us, all the different tribes and factions in the political arena, and
Yeah, hospitality.
hospitality,
is
that's the word we're looking for. And it worked
Yeah.
for you. And I really, you know, was amazed by it, and I learned something about that. Listen, there's 3 questions I want to ask you since I'm involved here, and yes, I didn't support the project, and I did have some questions, and I thought it should be a smaller project. Even though I'm a card-carrying library member, you know that I don't come in the front door too often and use that, but I have, as a politician, you got to have those certain cards. You always got to look good, you know, and if anybody asks you that question, you know, how much is a loaf of bread? You need to know. So anyway, I am concerned about 3 things here. One of them is, and if you'd explain it to me, it's called EP wood?
Ipe wood.
Ipe wood out there, the rainforest wood, because I've had a couple kids talk to me about that, and actually a couple contractors that thought just regular decking would be a better use instead of this rainforest wood. And did we hurt anything down there? And 2, I noticed on the tour that it's a little choppy. I guess I didn't realize the library had the different floors that it had and the 3 steps.
Subfloors.
Yeah, the subfloors, I guess. I really didn't realize that. 3 steps, 4 steps, and how it chops up. And the other thing is the noise factor. I was out here this weekend and I noticed your air conditioning unit on the roof over here is creating quite a large noise. I think I mentioned that during one of the charrettes or workshops about noise and how we're going to support it with the museum. And then you have the great backyard here and your patio and what's going to eventually be a great place to hang out along with your commons area. So could you answer those 3 things about
Sure.
that?
Okay, the Ipe wood is also called ironwood. That's a more common term for it. It's very dense. It is a sustainable rainforest wood. It's not unsustainable, so it's you know, agriculturally sound.
So they're actually farming it, sort of.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so it is resistant to water and pests. It's very
heavy.
dense. It's very heavy. And I think that was the choice because it's not just on the facade. It's not just a wall covering. It's also on our benches outside.
Okay.
So it's there are benches all along the back and all along the front. So that's why it was chosen. And if you notice in that commons area, because it's the commons,
Right.
You'll see representations of almost every type of wall or material in that room from all over the library.
Okay.
So you'll see the oak, you'll see the ipe wood, you'll see the brick, you'll see the limestone, you'll see even the pillars. There are some. So all
That's
of
very
those
cool.
aspects are represented in the commons area.
That'll be fun to check that out. I
Yeah,
haven't
so it's
checked
kind
that.
of a fun thing to.
What about the subfloors now? That explains the choppiness of that the subfloors are
Yeah,
critical
and
to the
they're-
structure.
and
They're just there.
Yeah.
The noise out here, I think, is going to be an issue
The-
with the library board or the you know, that once everybody kind of gets familiar with it, maybe you can just shut it off during their.
Well, it won't run all the time. That's the cooling tower, and so it's only when the building needs to be cooled
Okay.
that it runs. So unfortunately, that will be in the warm weather.
Right.
I sit in my office. I sit about 10 feet from that, and it doesn't come bother me. I mean, I don't notice the hum. However, it may carry because of the you know, the buildings
The
are
river
configured
back
for
here,
it.
it could go down the river.
It may carry, but again, that was a situation where we sort of had to take the path of least resistance because they had originally sited it on top of the Mason City Room, and we felt that, you know, in winter or in some weather, there's condensation that comes off there and it looks like steam. It isn't steam, but there's a house right next to that, to the south on Pennsylvania. and we felt that it might disturb that neighborhood.
Sure.
That neighborhood, not Second Street,
Sure.
it wouldn't really bother the residential
Right.
people. But we were trying to be very careful of the residential people along Pennsylvania
I think
Street.
we can all respect that too.
And so,
Right.
you know.
It is what it is.
It is
We
what
had
it is.
we had an
And
area already
we
here.
were
and-
really trying, and that actually, to put it there where it is, on that end of the building, presented some issues as far as, not issues, but then we have to push the air further through the building, but we were trying to protect that neighborhood, and that was
Right.
a
Well, I
spot. So, I mean,
appreciate.
we're sorry,
Right.
because it probably, somebody,
Right.
it may disturb them,
Right.
and we
Well,
apologize.
we've got a lot of
for
things
that.
going on in the neighborhood with hospice across the street and a funeral home over here and a jewelry shop over there and a residential and the museum. So, I mean, it's tough to build what you're building. But I just, to close this out, this little chat with Max, I want to say, Mary, you know what? I'm living with this. I think it's beautiful. I think the city's going to be better for it. I really do. I was pretty hardcore at the beginning. You kind of stole that away from me and showed me. Actually, I learned quite a bit from you, and I
Well, I
appreciate
think
that.
there was a lot of give and take there, though, because we did listen to your ideas and integrate them.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good example of, if people would talk to us, I think there is something for everybody here.
Mhm.
And I think all of the residents of even Cerro Gordo County would appreciate, and many of them do actually use the library on a regular basis.
And I think it's important to thank your board and to thank your staff for everything they've gone through. And most importantly, we need to thank the citizens from Mason City. You know, they're the ones that made the decision.
That's right.
And
The
I respect that.
vast majority of
Right.
this money is
Exactly.
coming from them.
And they really stepped up to the plate. And I do have one more question for you. It comes from the younger crowd. 'Cause, you know, I've got a couple young boys. Are you gonna allow in that great commons area? At the beginning, it was called the atrium, but I think
We
changed.
changed that.
Yeah, I think
function of that.
you've given it to the community now as a community room.
Right.
Will there be music in there? Will there be?
You know, that the whole use of the commons area is really revealing itself now that we are,
It's a great area.
now that we can actually see it.
Right.
And, you know, it's one thing to see plans, even 3D plan, you know, it's different to actually be in the space.
It is.
And see the furniture and see the coffee
fantastic.
area and see the circulation desk and those things. Because we had thought, no, you know, it'll be a meeting place and a lunch place, but not a formal meeting place. But, you know, we've already decided to put our initial programming, which starts next week, some of it in there, because it's a really neat space.
It's a neat space.
And so I could see that potentially
Great.
happening, sure.
I hope that happens.
We're very open to all those things because, you know, that's why we put in, you know, extra power on the patio, was so
Right.
that we could do programming, have music, have poetry slams.
Yeah.
You know, people could have a meeting there. We could even, because the patio has 2 levels, we could easily make a lattice work portable screen, so you could have a meeting on the lower level but still have the upper level
It's taken a
open.
life of its own, isn't
It
it?
totally has, and you know, it changes the building management in a positive way because it's a much
Right.
less formal space of the
Right.
library. But
And-
it's really revealing itself as a, wow, there's an
It
awful
is.
lot of potential here that was much harder for us
Right.
to manage.
It jumps right out at me.
And
Mary,
it's-
is this also an area that could actually be utilized and used when the library's not open?
Yeah, because the coffee shop will open before we do in the morning, and I think there will be groups that meet here.
Fantastic. That's good news for the community. It really
I think
is.
so too. Yeah.
Well, listen, it's been great talking to you.
Thank
I
you.
love you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate meeting you and giving me a chance.
Sure.
And you
Me
know,
too.
you've made my life better, and I've learned a lot through this process. So I want to thank everybody for, and especially NorthIowaToday.com for the opportunity. Thank you. Till next time.
Okay. Thanks, Max.